Imagine standing on a battlefield. Not a battlefield of swords and armies, but the battlefield inside your own mind. On one side, fear, doubt, the urge to run away from your problems. On the other side, duty, purpose, the quiet voice that tells you to stand and fight for the life you're meant to live. 5,000 years ago, a warrior stood frozen in this exact moment. His hands trembled. His weapons fell to the ground. He didn't know if he could go on. And what happened next became one of the most powerful conversations ever recorded. A conversation that has guided emperors, philosophers, scientists, and everyday people through their darkest hours. A conversation that can change the way you see your own life, starting today. Let's begin. The greatest transformation doesn't happen when you finish a book. It happens when you begin living what you've learned. So the next time your mind feels like a battlefield, remember Arjuna. Breathe, release your grip, do your work. And let go of the rest. Book Introduction. This wisdom comes from the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred text from ancient India believed to be over 2,000 years old. It's not a long book, you could read it in an afternoon, but inside its pages is a complete guide to living with courage, clarity, and inner peace. The Gita tells the story of a warrior named Arjuna who is about to enter a great battle. But moments before it begins, he breaks down. He sees his own family on the opposing side. He questions everything. Why fight? Why live? What's the point of any of it? In his darkest moment, his charioteer, who is really Krishna, a divine guide in disguise, begins to speak. What follows isn't religious preaching. It's a masterclass in psychology, purpose, and mental freedom. This is why leaders like Mahatma Gandhi called it a spiritual dictionary they turned to daily. It's why Einstein and Oppenheimer studied it. It's why millions still read it today. Because the battlefield never really changed. It just moved inside of us. Lesson 1: Your pain is not the problem, your attachment is. Arjuna's crisis wasn't really about war. It was about attachment. He looked at the people he loved and thought, if I lose them, I lose everything. Krishna's first lesson cuts straight to the heart of human suffering. We suffer not because things change, but because we cling to them staying the same. Think about your own life for a second. The anxiety you feel about your job, the fear of losing a relationship, the stress about money. Most of it doesn't come from the situation itself. It comes from your grip on how you think things should be. Krishna tells Arjuna something radical. The soul, the true self, is never destroyed. Bodies change, situations change, seasons of life come and go. But the essence of who you are remains untouched. This doesn't mean stop caring. It means stop suffocating what you love with fear of losing it. When you loosen your grip, you actually get to enjoy life more, not less. Lesson 2: Do the work, release the outcome. Here's the line from the Gita that has quietly changed millions of lives. You have the right to your actions, but never to the fruits of your actions. Read that again. You are in control of your effort, your discipline, your intention. You are not in control of the results. This single idea can dissolve years of anxiety. How many nights have you lost sleep, not over the work itself but over the outcome? Will they like it? Will it succeed? Will I fail? Krishna teaches Arjuna and teaches us to pour our full energy into the action itself and let go of the obsession with the result. This isn't about not caring, it's about caring differently. Athletes call this being in the zone, artists call it flow, Krishna simply called it acting without attachment. When you stop chasing the outcome and start honoring the process, something interesting happens. You perform better, you feel lighter, and ironically, better results tend to follow. Lesson 3: Your mind is either your best friend or your worst enemy. The Gita describes the mind as something that can lift you up or drag you down like an anchor. Sound familiar? We've all felt it. One moment your mind is calm and focused. The next, it's spinning with worry, comparison, or self-doubt. Krishna teaches that a disciplined mind is the foundation of a peaceful life. Not a mind free of thoughts, a mind that isn't a slave to every thought. This is where meditation enters the picture, not as a trendy practice, but as ancient technology for training attention. Sitting quietly, watching the breath, observing thoughts instead of becoming them. The Gita says the mind can be tamed through steady practice and patience, not overnight, but through consistency, like training a wild horse gently again and again until it listens. Every time you choose stillness over reaction. Every time you pause instead of exploding in anger. Every time you observe a fear instead of obeying it. You're doing exactly what Arjuna was taught to do thousands of years ago. Lesson 4: You are not your job, your body, or your failures. One of the most liberating teachings in the Gita is this. You are not the roles you play. You are not your job title, not your bank account, not your body, not even your thoughts. Krishna tells Arjuna that the true self is eternal, untouched by fire, unwet by water, unmoved by the winds of life. This isn't about ignoring your responsibilities. It's about remembering who is behind them. When you tie your entire identity to your career, your relationship status, or your achievements, every setback feels like an attack on your very existence. But when you remember there is a deeper you underneath all of it, failure stings less, criticism lands softer, and you move through life with a quiet strength that doesn't depend on outside approval. Lesson 5: Find your path, not someone else's. The Gita makes a bold claim. It's better to walk your own path imperfectly than to imitate someone else's path perfectly. This is one of the most important messages for anyone chasing success today. We live in a world of comparison, scrolling through other people's highlight reels, wondering why our journey looks different. But Krishna reminds Arjuna and reminds us that every person has a unique purpose, shaped by their own nature and gifts. Your calling won't look like anyone else's. And that's not a flaw, that's the entire point. The moment you stop copying someone else's definition of success is the moment you finally start building a life that actually feels like yours. Lesson 6: Devotion, Action, and Wisdom. 3 paths, 1 destination. Near the heart of the Gita, Krishna reveals that there isn't just one way to grow spiritually. Some people find peace through devotion, love, prayer, surrender to something greater than themselves. Some find it through selfless action, service, discipline, showing up fully for their responsibilities. Others find it through knowledge, deep reflection, self-inquiry, understanding the nature of reality. None of these paths is superior, they simply meet different people where they are. This is a beautiful reminder for anyone who has ever felt like their spiritual journey doesn't look spiritual enough. You don't need incense and mountains to grow. Sometimes waking up early and doing your work with full presence is just as sacred as any prayer. Final reflection. By the end of their conversation, Arjuna rises. Not because his problems disappeared, but because his perspective transformed. He picks up his weapon not out of fear, not out of anger, but out of clarity and purpose. And maybe that's the real message hidden inside this ancient story. Life will always hand you battles, loss, uncertainty, moments where you feel like giving up. But somewhere inside you, there is a stillness that no external storm can touch. A part of you that was never broken, never lost, never afraid. The Bhagavad Gita doesn't promise a life without struggle. It promises a way through struggle with steadiness, purpose, and peace.